Good. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I hope you cut all this.
Can I call you Solly?
Call me Solly. I
Call you
prefer Solly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sol. Okay. Okay. How does it feel? Oh my God, this feels like a really invasive question, honestly. But how does it feel to be you? Say the word.
Fabulous, handsome, charismatic.
And?
And what?
So how does it feel to be gay? A gay black man?
For one, I'm not gay. No, but in all reality, I think being gay, it has its perks. But I think deep down, it is kind of it could be frustrating and sometimes a bit lonely.
Yeah, why frustrating?
So when you think of your straight relationships, there's so much more that goes into gay relationships, gay dating. Not seriously, but being a straight person, you start really dating middle school, high school. But when it comes to gay dating, at least in my generation, I'm 31, so it wasn't as accepted when I was in high school and middle school like it is now. But as a gay boy, you're not dating in high school. You're still hiding who you are. You don't want to be bullied, so you don't have that teenage experience of dating.
Right.
So you're kind of stunted when it comes to relationships.
Okay.
So you learn things way later in life when it comes to relationships because you don't have that past experience of being a child and dating and stuff like that. So I think it can be frustrating, It's everything that's frustrating about a straight relationship, and then add some more things that, are
on top of it,
unique to being gay,
Okay, so what about role models for you? They always have parents as role models, to set up the whole father, how to treat a woman and a husband. But I mean, your parents weren't gay, so was that a different come up for you on role models on how to be in a relationship, or is it still the same even with straight parents?
Relationship? Well, one, my dad does not know I'm gay, so don't let him see this. He's taking me out of the will.
Wait a minute. How does he not know? Wait a minute. It's been so long and we all know. How does he not know?
Okay, so not all my friends happen to be pretty. She ain't my friend. Because she, no. But, my father, for some, I don't know if he's in denial. Also, he's foreign. My dad's 84. He was not born in America. He was born in Cape Verde during imperialism, the Portuguese Empire. So he's not accustomed to certain things. So I think he really just does not know. And then when, most of my friends are gorgeous women, he just automatically assumes oh, those are his girlfriends. He just doesn't want to tell me because he's also ultra-conservative Christian. So he thinks that I'm not telling him because,
you're not
adultery or whatever. But as far as role models in relationships, I didn't have a role model to look at and be this is the type of relationship that I want. I think I had to learn things about myself and what I can put into a relationship, but also being understanding, learning other people's past traumas and the reason why they do the things that they do. But a lot of people try to do that with the outcome of, if I am accepting of their past traumas and their, when people are, what is that, avoidant attachment and all these things, and he does this because of this. People go into the mindset that, if I learn all these things about this other person and I have, the
knowledge
behind
their issues and everything.
Exactly. They think that that'll make it work. But sometimes it's, no, you learn it and you can be accepting to a certain point. It won't make the relationship.
Their past issues can't be an excuse for how they treat you.
Exactly.
Yep. I'm still learning that myself. But it's okay.
Yeah.
Slow learners, it's all right. We're all getting there. Dad doesn't know, but did you ever come out, or was it just a known thing?
They knew. How I said it was frustrating being gay. The question I always hated was in high school and middle school, can I ask you a question? Your heart drops when you're not out the closet.
Okay.
They're going to ask you, are you gay? And back then, like I said, it wasn't as accepting as it is now. So it's okay, you have to answer this question, but make sure your body language doesn't show that you're lying, you know?
Yes, okay.
But, my family kind of always had a feeling, kind of got outed.
Okay.
I And my mother's side, it was weird because usually, you know, women are more accepting than men. But the women in my family on my mom's side were like, oh my God, this is the end of the world, da 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 da. But my uncles, not all of them, but most of them were so accepting.
Right.
I remember the cutest thing was, so I'm first generation American. So my cousins came from Cape Verde. I don't know, they were probably 8, 7, around that age, some of them. And I remember, you know, I'm sitting with them and talking with them, like, you know, we all lived in a big house. I would come visit in the weekends.
Right.
I remember my little cousins telling me that, you know, they would like make little jokes about me being gay, but then one day they were telling me, they were like, yeah, before we got to America, they were like, I remember Daddy telling us that you were gay. And in our culture, it's something that we just don't talk about. But in America, it's a little bit more accepting, and that it doesn't change who I am. And they just basically said like, oh, like don't, you know, you can bring it up and talk about it with him, but like just know that it's a different culture in America. It's more accepting, but it does not change who he is. He's like the sweetest person you'll ever know. You know, my uncle said that, and I knew that they were accepting, but they were more retaliating towards my aunts, like, hey, don't treat him that way. It's Solomon, you know, like it doesn't change who he is.
So what do you mean you got outed? Like,
Girl.
how did that make you feel being outed to your family, like by your family?
The first person I told that I was gay, and I didn't want to say it, so I was like, you know, throwing little, it's weird. It's like, it's, again, I don't know how it is now, but back then it was like a big thing. So I remember I told my best friend, Ashley.
Okay.
I was doing a dance class at the college, hip hop. Like trying to tell her I was gay, and I was like, oh,
so guess what, sis?
Like, this guy is really hot, and because I'm like, you know, I want you to know that I'm gay. And I was like, yeah, the instructor is really attractive, da, da, da. And she's like, so I keep on saying it because she's not like saying like, oh, like you're gay. So she's like, oh yeah, is he? And da, da, da. We're just talking, and I kept on saying it. She's like, I know what you're trying to say. I understand that you're gay. So she didn't say anything to anybody. And then after a while, I was like, you know, that one person was like such a weight off my shoulders. Now I have somebody to talk about things with, like who I have a crush on and like the things that I'm going through.
Right.
So I ended up telling another friend of mine, and you know, then it started circulating through school. He finally came out. It's in the Gazette, the John F. Kennedy Gazette, the newspaper. And finally everyone knows, so it's not a big deal. And it was weird because it was like more pressure to actually be in the closet. But when I was gay, I didn't really get that much backlash after I actually came out.
Okay.
So I remember my cousins, they were in class with one of my friends.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, like, you know, be honest with me. Are you and my cousin hooking up? Like, you guys are always together. He sleeps over your house, da da da. And then she's like, how do you guys still not know? She's like, the whole school knows. She's like, your cousin's gay. So then, again, I come from a foreign family. You know, I go over my cousin's house. My aunts are there, and they're like, oh, you should tell them. You should tell them. I'm like, no, I'm not coming out of the closet. And they're like, no, they'll be accepting. They don't care. So we're speaking in English. And like our native tongue is Cape Verdean. Okay. So my aunt's like, what's going on? What's going on? Because she knows like something's going on with Solomon and stuff. She's like, everything okay? And then my cousin says in English, just tell them you're gay. It's fine. And then my aunt's like, gay? Like, and then one of my aunts comes out and she's like, what's going on? Because she screeched it. And she's like, Solomon, you're gay? And then now she's speaking in Cape Verdean. And my other aunts are coming out like, what? And I'm like, ugh. So I didn't want to say it out loud. So I'm like, and she's like, what? Oh my God, my grandmother was a mess. She's like, what? Oh my God, I'm your Deus. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, girl, like you guys are making this a bigger deal. And they were just like so mad. No, they were not accepting at all. They were just, oh, like this is, you know, it's an abomination. You're a good looking man. You have to reproduce. You know, there's other things that were like, some things I didn't need to know. Like, they were like, you know, people do experiment, but we don't talk about it. I'm like, okay, well, what are you all into? Because maybe y'all are suppressing stuff. But, so yeah, I remember they like asked me to leave the house. I was crying, and I'm like in downtown Waterbury. Tears in my eyes. I remember I went to the Chinese restaurant because I had to wait for the city bus to come. I'm just sitting at this Chinese restaurant, snotty nose, and welted eyes. I'm calling my friend and telling her what happened, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So then I was like, I'm not going over my aunt's and my grandmother's house anymore. My aunt dropped it. So my aunt calls me 2 weeks later. So they used to go over every week. So my aunt calls me and is like, hey, like, what time are you coming by? Because I need help with something. And I was like, oh, I'm not coming over. And she's like, oh. She's like, well, that's weird. And we have like this.
That's weird.
We have this dish. It's called pastels, and it's like every Cape Verdean loves pastels.
Okay.
So she's like, oh well, I was gonna make pastels, and I needed your help, and da da da. I'm like, girl, you haven't made pastels in like a year. So now I know you're trying to butter me up without apologizing. She's
Yeah.
like, well, come over because we're making pastels. You have to come over. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's like her apology. So I went. Remember, my grandmother had to like pull me because she was just giving me dirty looks, and she's like, come sit down. She took me to her room and we had to talk about it. And she was trying to understand, again, this woman's like born in like the 1930s.
Yeah.
She like was born in Portugal.
And this is on your mom's side, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm explaining it to her because she's like, I need, you know, she's like, whatever. I was her favorite grandson. You know, she's asking me like, oh, how are you gonna have kids? Oh, you're gonna marry a man? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, you know, like, you're kind of soft, like, what if he's mean to you and you can't protect yourself? And I'm like, okay, Grandma, thank you for your concern. There was a boy that was also gay, and he lived like next door to them.
Okay.
And we had the same shorts from Aeropostale. So she thought he was wearing my shorts, and she's like, that makes sense. You guys have the same shorts. I'm like, no, Grandma. Like, I was like, no, we're not sharing clothes. I'm not dating him. She's like, okay, good. She's like, I don't like him for you. So she kind of came to terms with it. We didn't really speak about it after that day.
Yeah.
But with my father's side, again, my father doesn't know. I have family from like around the world. So I think they know, like my siblings in Portugal, I think they know. I never told them. But I remember when Angola decriminalized homosexuality.
Okay.
And a lot of my family members were posting about it, like, you know, yay, about time and stuff. So I'm like, okay, you know, you just don't want to ask me. So I think that that was their way of posting things to being like, hey, we accept you.
Yeah.
My father's side that lives here in America, they never, I think they just always knew. And then I don't really can recall the time that we go back to be like, oh, like, yeah, I'm gay. But like I would, you know, the holidays, I brought guys over and they've met them and they liked them. I had an aunt, she is a Jehovah's Witness. And I remember she didn't really like ask me, but she was like, oh, where's your boyfriend? And I'm like, how do you know? And I was like, oh, I don't have a boyfriend. And she was just like, she made a face like, so I was like, okay. But like seeing things, especially like being foreign and seeing how like your family is becoming more Americanized, so certain things that were taboo in our country aren't as taboo now. You start to see like, you know, I have a cousin that he's also gay and, you know, he does his hair and he wears like weave and stuff. And like, it's nice to see like my aunts and uncles being accepting of him. My father's side's they're more Americanized.
Okay.
So they were the ones that I kind of like just never said anything. But like, for instance, for like the younger generation that are like in high school now, or like, there's not resentment.
You're happy that he got to have that, but it's upsetting that it didn't happen for you, kind of thing. Yeah.
It's like, I'm happy that, you know, like my cousin and then even the younger generation, when now they can date openly. Yeah. Like in my day, it's not old, but you know, that wouldn't be accepted. Like, you're getting bullied. I went to an inner city school, so I'm getting bullied.
My nephew, it's so funny that you said that he's in high school. He's like, I was in detention today, and I was just curious to know, are gay kids bad? I was like, why? He's like, because there was 3 gay kids in my detention class. And I was like, how do you know they were gay? And he was like, because one of them was sitting like this. He's like, I was like, he's like, but not in the chair, on the table. I was like, on the table? I was like, oh my God. Like, and then there was another guy that was there and he was like this, and he like swished his hip when he talked and like everything and walked. And I was like, okay. I was like, what about the third kid? He's like, well, he was like really close to the guy on the table. So I'm just assuming. Yeah, that's what I'm going to assume. Yeah, I was like, yeah, they're definitely like, they were in there because of their attitude. I was like, that's what it was. Yeah. They probably said something messed up to the teacher or something even more messed up to another student. I was like, and that's why they're there.
Envy sounds bad, but it's like, oh, you know, I wish that was how it was back in my day. I'm happy that kids aren't, you know, going through that now as badly as we were when we were younger. But so yeah, there's like I wish I could date in high school. Yeah. And, oh my God, the bullying that I got for wearing a Lady Gaga costume.
What?
Yeah, it was the leotard, but I put the basketball shorts on to be appropriate. When people would be dicks to me, they were always like, you know, the popular girl that ate the hot Cheetos or the Cookie Monster pajama pants. Like, they stood up for me. They were always, they were always like, hey, like, leave him alone, mind your business, da da da.
The hot Cheeto finger girls, they're like,
that's what it is now.
Yep, they're like this.
Yeah.
They're like that. Okay, so my last question is your spirituality. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So I was having, I don't think I told you about this. So I was having like a whole moment, not like a couple moments where I went to work and my manager came in and she told me that she was having issues with her car, her rental, and then the cops were getting involved. And then 30 minutes later, got a phone call from my coworker, and she said that she got into a 5-car accident, and she was like talking to the police right now, so she wasn't gonna come into work. A week from that time, another friend of mine got into a car accident and then got arrested for something simple, nothing crazy. So I was like, all right, that's weird, like the whole timeline, you know? And then another time, my best friend's sister was telling me about one of her friends talking about a medical issue, but she said that in a group chat, and she said that she'd be okay. And then another one of my close friends, she told us that she had an accident and that she would be okay, but she wanted to talk to us about it in person, but she sent this through the group chat. So I was talking to two of my best friends, and I was just like, guys, I was like, something's happening. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I was like, someone is going to be in the hospital. They'll be fine. I was like, and it'll happen on a Tuesday. You'll find out through a group chat. 2 weeks later, my best friend finds out that her grandpa was in the hospital. She was in a group chat, and he was fine. He was completely fine. He had some chest pains, but he's okay. And then I was like, wait a minute. I was like, what's today? And my friend was like, it's Tuesday. And I was like, that's a little weird. Okay. I was dating a guy at the time, and then two of his friends just went through like a breakup, like in the same day. And I was like, crap. I was like, we're gonna be the ones to break up. Like, it's gonna be us that breaks up. And sure enough, we did. Yeah. So that's why I was like, what is that? Like, does that resonate anything with you? Like,
I think, you know, no shade to any religion or whatever, but like, I grew up very conservative Christian, like evangelical. I was like very anxious about like the rapture for a 7-year-old. My dad went to the store and he took more than 2 hours, and I'm home alone. I would turn on the news and I would be crying because I'm like, my dad got raptured and I got left behind. And I remember I'd pray to God, like, please, Boa, forgive me for all my sins. As I got older, I had like a near-death experience. And then that's where I started to question like my Christian faith. And, you know, I was like looking around and different religions. I had to have been 18. So I had like a really rough upbringing. So like the day before my 18th birthday, my guardian kicks me out of the house. I didn't have the best relationship with my aunt. So my grandmother passed away like probably 3 days before my high school graduation. So after she passed away, again, we don't have the best of relationship. And, you know, she made a comment, basically was like, oh, you know, just prepare yourself because like grandma's not here to protect you. If I can rent out your bedroom to somebody, like you're out on the street. Okay. So like, I was like, okay. So, you know, I ended up moving in with a friend and they helped me out a lot. And I remember my senior year in high school, they introduced us to the movie The Secret. And
that was a good book.
Yeah. So I remember like not really paying attention in class. And this is when Netflix didn't have that many options online. You had to get the DVDs in the mail. So I ordered one of the DVDs from the mail and I was like, I'm gonna watch The Secret. You have to feel the emotion of already having what you want. So long story short, I do this for like a month and, you know, I'm staying with this friend and I've been meditating and then doing all these things that the movie's telling me. And I'm actually really feeling it. And within a month, I ended up receiving all this money and like my life just like skyrocketed from there. I got my own place, I had a car, everything was just like set. I really didn't have to work for a while. I did work because, you know, I would feel weird not working.
Yeah.
But and that made me explore more of spirituality. And then down the line, I learned about Hermeticism. And I learned that The Secret, if you watch the movie, in the beginning of the movie, they show the Egyptian boy in the pyramid, and there's like this emerald tablet, and he takes do you remember the movie?
I don't remember, no.
He takes a piece of papyrus and a crayon, I don't know, and he's like etching the secret onto this papyrus, and then he hides it into the desert. So I found out that the law of attraction is like one of the laws of Hermeticism, of how they believe like the universe works and stuff.
Okay.
So without getting too much into Hermeticism, I started practicing Hermeticism. Sometimes I slip up and like I'm not where I need to be spiritually, but I do notice like my life is so much better when I'm actually following the principles and stuff, because I'm manifesting. My life is becoming so much better. And then, you know, with what you were saying, I can also feel, maybe it's high pattern recognition, or, you know, I feel like everybody can tune in to certain things. And
I think so too.
You know?
Yeah, I feel like we're just so distracted by social media and all the stuff that we have that's so accessible, that why practice something that takes time when we can just Google it? Yeah, I feel like people that practice like anything that involves like meditation or like speaking to the universe or manifesting, like you have a lot of patience, because that's not something that comes quick and easy. Like it gives you little glimpses of what could happen, what can happen, but it just doesn't happen overnight still. Like I did read that things need to fall before you can build when it comes to manifesting. So when I would manifest in the morning, I knew the second I started saying those words every morning, I was like, I'm going to hit the fan this week. And I sure did. All this stuff was like happening, and I was like, what am I missing? Like, how did I miss all of this stuff in a week? And then 2 weeks later, like I get a check in the mail, and then I meet like these great people, and like things started like rolling a little bit nicer after that. So
your old life has to clear out,
yeah,
so you can start building on the new one, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's where people get discouraged when it comes to like understanding prayer and manifesting, because when things don't go right, they're just like, I'm doing something wrong. And it's like, you're not. Like, this is the process and you just need to trust it. So I give kudos to those people, because it's hard. It's not as easy as people make it seem to be.
But, yeah.
It's intense. It's cool. This is a great talk, Sully. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
You're definitely going to come back on here because we want to hear about that trauma.
Oh, I got the trauma.
Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'll just drink my coffee.
Well,
All right.